stay close by because it's really, this is going to take a second. Just to get you going, because actually, Demi, let's go ahead and send out a URL or some instructions to this. For the class videos that have already kind of come through and have been recorded and the new ones that will be added right now, currently I just put them on YouTube. Well, I'll put them on BIMtopia too, but the easiest thing just to kind of post them quickly was to put them on YouTube. That'll come too, because it's easy to make the podcast. But have people go to YouTube if they search for BIMtopia, and then go down to playlists. There's a channel, and we have like a whole playlist, which is just nothing but these class sessions. So, starting with session 1, we didn't get the first part of session 1, but we got the second part.
Yeah, I screwed that up.
And then 1, 2, and 3 from the last session. We sort of broke them into like 30-minute chunks. Of what'd you do? First thing you do is you created some walls and some wall openings. Then the second thing you created the curtain walls. The third one you started making the floors and the roofs or something like that. So we'll do the same thing this time with your first part of the class and the second part of the class. So for now, just go on out there. But the easy thing to do is tell people to go to YouTube and search for BIMtopia.
Oh, Ryan.
What?
Does the Rhino disk that you have come with the second disk has a bunch of tutorials?
Yes.
So the one I got, the second disk was a rendering program, tutorials.
Oh, really?
So,
I mean, Rhino tutorials are pretty easy to find anywhere.
Oh, okay.
Like even if you just click up on the right side, up in the top, click on Help. Under Rhino, there's tutorials just within the program.
Yeah. It was like a rigorous, more rigorous tutorial.
Yeah.
Well, I can grab.
The tutorial is not really that converting.
We're going to dig it around. I'll see if I can find that and sort of put those things somewhere for you. Okay, that's good. Okay, so just know those things are out there, and then so Demi, let's go ahead and send something as an announcement, because for people who couldn't make it today, the way they'll catch up with you is by watching the video, hopefully. Okay, the video is started again. It's recording, so why don't you have at it again. Yeah, no, we should tell people to send a class announcement after the whole coursework class saying that the videos from the past sessions have been posted. And let's just why don't you find it on YouTube and post it? Yeah, it's easy for people.
So if right now you want to go ahead and open up the other file. It's within session 3, which is called Rhino building into Revit.
So is that something again we dealt with at the coursework?
Yeah, sorry.
Okay, so before you dive into specifics, let's have that discussion about Rhino versus Revit and how the two things work together.
Yeah, it's
so kind of capture it and put it into
there's definitely a few different methods that we've been working with using. One is to get your general massing done, which
don't go into specifics. Let's just talk about Rhino and Revit and what the two things are good for.
All right, I guess you could say well, I mean, Rhino is freeform modeling. You have very few limitations. And you can create things, I feel, very quickly. Once you get the hang of it, I know it seems like you probably can't right now, but once you start getting used to it, it's super fast, especially when you start getting up your own interface and customizing it. But the objects aren't intelligent, and there's certain things like making stairs or making actual detailed elements that are going to have all the information embedded in them. You just can't do that unless you input all the information manually. There's no set up standards for that.
So let's stop there. So one thing is, it seems like, as a discussion, it seems like a lot of what we're doing so far is we have all these profiles and we sort of extrude them or do different things to them to kind of create 3D shapes, and we're sort of controlling their understanding of what they are based on what layer they're on. Mm-hmm. Okay, so they don't really know they're necessarily a window or a floor or whatever. It's just sort of they're on different layers and we group them. Okay. So in terms of creating these sorts of forms, one of the kind of things in terms of creating forms, clearly Rhino is much better at kind of organic forms or free forms where Revit seems to like all these straight angles.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think Rhino is very good with orthogonal shapes as well because it is so exact with its seams and points.
Sure.
I'd say like beyond that, it's just more about custom forms, not even just organic things, just custom forms. So like more like something that hasn't already been created. So I think one of the great ways that you could use Rhino is to create custom families, and if you could get into that, I mean, it's a difficult kind of thing if you could manipulate between. But
we'll get there in terms of that.
Yeah.
Okay. So then, in terms of things like for Jacob's point, things like creating a stairway which is made up of a lot of parts, for all those things, or even for the whole curtain wall, there's a lot of parts in terms of the mullions and things like that. If, for example, you went ahead and you modeled a curtain wall panel, you modeled a stairway in Rhino, and you kind of copied it on up, is there, like one thing that we're sort of used to doing in Revit is being able to kind of start just changing some parameters and having a lot of the form kind of recast itself, based on those changes in the parameters. In the Rhino workflow, is there a way to do that, or do you go back to the primitive element and sort of change the beginning of the array and then let the arraying kind of...
There is definitely a way in Rhino that you can... I mean, besides using a plugin like Grasshopper, I'll get to you in a second. You can use a plugin like Grasshopper, which is more parametric. But there's also built into Rhino a command that says it's called history. And you can turn history on and off. So let's just show you here real quick that you have this form right here, and you created a planar surface from it. And so you turn the history, if you turn the history, tell it to record and to update. Once you actually adjusted this curve, well, it should update that. Oh wait, no, I guess that's what would be what it's from. It only works for certain things, but let's say you have these curves, and now that I've turned the history, now it's on. Say I've just opted this, and we want to move this, it will update kind of things automatically. So if you have to update the 2D forms, or if you want to change the 2D forms, that they will manipulate that, but it's still like by no means parametric in comparison to like the way that you can just input new numbers and change things.
Sure.
But it is once again a little bit more customizable. Like you could change an angle or stuff, not just
Yeah, because I'm not trying to compare the two in terms of saying one is good or one is bad. It's trying to understand how they work together.
Yeah, it's also like a lot more complicated than some of the Revit, because you have to go in and you have to obviously like the garbage in, garbage out. If you put in a bunch of disorganized layers, you're going to have trouble manipulating it, and it's going to come out poor method.
So in terms of different workflows, things to sort of think about, like. One thing that really always attracts me very much to Rhino is the ability to kind of create these forms that I can't go through in Rhino, that I can't really create in Revit. So the idea of, and this is what we're going to show in just a minute here, creating sort of an interesting form, not necessarily articulating every last detail of the form, but actually sort of creating the shape, and then taking that shape into Revit, and then adding the detail in Revit. Using that form.
Can you add materials and details when you're in Revit?
Yeah, well, that's what we're going to show you today. It's sort of one way to approach it is to say that use Rhino as kind of a form generator, okay, and then take that form into Revit and then make building elements out of it there. Because another thing that sort of happens in a building information model as opposed to a form model is this whole thing about like the volumes and the ability to go through and do a quantity takeoff or schedule it or all those sort of different things.
Can I ask something? How flexible is family customization?
Well,
can you do whatever you want?
Well, no, it's kind of to like almost Christian's point. It's flexible to the point that you're still creating things as extrusions or revolves or blends or things that it sort of understands. And where Rhino really excels is its ability to manipulate forms is actually much greater. So. Not today, we'll show it next time. It's more of a workflow where we start saying not only are we going to take sort of forms in and kind of create these walls and roof surfaces out of them that way, we'll get into how you can actually take all these Rhino forms and make parametric families out of them. To kind of model other things. So I think I'd always be thinking about it, like one good way to think about Rhino if you are a Revit user is that Rhino is really where you go to when you need to create a form that you can't create using Revit's inherent tools. And then you try to bring it in.
Yeah. or even just.
I haven't personally ever used Revit before. When you refer to parametric editing, does parametric modeling encompass as a term?
In the Revit sense, it's things like a lot of the objects have sort of conditions, heights, lengths, widths, where as opposed to sort of manipulating it directly, you can type in values and it'll drive the behavior. So for something like on the stairway example, which is a parametric object, we can sort of put in, that the maximum height of stairs, the number of risers we want to have is a certain number, and then it'll kind of recreate the geometry based on really a set of mathematical rules.
Okay, so you can just go back in and keep the same height but change number of steps and then
it'll sort of recast itself based on that.
And it's once you get good at it, it's hard to control it sometimes, but once you get good at it, it can be a very quick way to control things. And for certain things like stairs, it really is like fantastic and so much better than anything you do in Rhino.
But things like a spline.
Yeah.
It's like impermanent.
Well,
exactly.
And that's exactly what we're trying to get to here is that, when it comes to these splines or these curves, and there's all these forms that Revit is really bad at modeling, then, doing things in Rhino, but ultimately trying to figure out how they get together. You don't want to do it as two separate worlds. It's really two different tools that are each good for different things, and you need to come up with a workflow where you combine them all. Because, for example, it's hard to do a complete set of construction docs in Rhino, but then again, in Rhino you can do all these kind of groovy things that you can't do in Revit. So the key is to kind of figure out how they're working. So what Christian's going to show us today is really...
I'm just going to show you how to generally build this kind of form. This is something I just did last quarter, like going between the two programs. So this is like the Revit file, which these forms just came from Rhino originally. So like there's a lot of potential in it, and you can see like the Y2E2 like building over here. It's pretty different, but I don't know. There's a lot of potential to really control what's going on and to integrate the two. But it is like there are limitations. Like for example, this it's not that. Which one? There we go. This whole auditorium here, it was a pretty complex form, and with all the holes, it created like a difficulty of bringing it in. So they had, if like we could make it a lot simpler, it really would work. We'll get into that later, though.
Show them how to do it. Then go.
Yeah. You'll see as we start working on it. Yeah.
So. Are you going to dive into it now, bringing your forms in?
What? So yeah, I'm real quick show you just how like that simple form. It was kind of Diller Scofidio like, kind of like the Alice Tully Hall style. I'll just show you how to create a simple form like that real quick, and if we have time, we'll start getting into that. Otherwise, we'll start that the next session. So we're just going to create a form real quick that we're going to then pull into Revit in order to see how it works. So feel free to create your own form if you want to. Otherwise, you could follow along with me and see how that general form was created. So let's get started here. So we're just in perspective mode here, and I have a few lines set up. And you can see these layers are also set up, once again, just kind of like the previous file where you have 2D construction lines, and then we have the 3D lines that we'll create off of it. Oh, whoops, I already built it. There you go, done. Yeah, it's fast.
Oh, I like that.
All right. Okay, so if you want to go through and delete all those forms so you can actually learn how to do it, feel free. So let's...
Click on the 3D layer, like the filler, and then just select objects and delete that.
Or what you could do is just turn off this 2D layer right here and delete everything else. But because you can't select, like, so say like within this, you only select the object actually on that layer. You can't select the groups like within that. You have to go through and select every one of them.
But why not?
It doesn't, because I guess it doesn't want you to be able to select all those. I don't know. Maybe that would be a good question to pose to McNeil.
So, Okay, so on 3D construction, there's like sub-layers in it. You can't go through construction.
Well, for some reason, you can actually, on this layer, you can draw on this layer. So obviously, then it would actually select that object, but not this all the objects contained within. So it's a strange setup the way they have that. I wonder if they'll be changing that in newer version. The newer version should be coming out really soon, actually. Yeah, it's strange. But I mean, there are some points where you'll find Rhinos being, you don't know why it's doing that. But I feel like it's less than I found with other programs like AutoCAD and whatnot. So let's move on and get into the. Let's just start with a 3D wall. Actually, let's just get 3D massing, so then we can kind of like, I remember if you guys knew before, but we created a massing and then we would save that form so that we wouldn't have to go back and redo it just in case we did something we didn't like. So let's just select this form and extrude the curve again. Just going to extrude it straight. Something like 60 feet. And so, also on this side, we had this kind of decided that, or I guess in that form, kind of had this sloped, slanted facade here on the front. So why don't we use this line and do a loft between these two? This line and this line, in order to create that that kind of sloped plane. Once you get that sloped plane, you can type trim and trim this out. So now you have this more sloping form on the front there. Now let's join that, and let's also cap it.
How tall did you make that again?
60 feet. So if you wanted to, let's say you wanted to change this angle, you could type extract surface, and you can select that surface, and you could then also do a rotate 3D, and that way you could actually take this in, and when you select this along this axis and then select this axis, you can move this back and forth, so you could actually determine what angle you actually wanted if you wanted something a little different. But right now, let's just keep it at that and join this back together so that it's a solid, closed off solid. And then if you noticed in the other form, there was a kind of a cutout for the curtain wall below. So let's change the 3D cut layer and select this green, or select this blue line out here and type in planar surface. Another way you could do it quite easily is just to draw it like that, but just for time's sake, we'll just do this. And once again, we're going to rotate 3D. So you grab this corner, then you can select this corner, and that one. I apologize for the lines, but...
Wait, go back. What did you do so I got the 3D cut, and then I got the curve.
Did you create the surface? Yeah, create a planar surface. And then we're going to rotate 3D once again. And you want to select, first, you're pretty much selecting the axis around which you'll rotate. So you're selecting like this axis. So you'll click on one corner then the other, and then go to this corner. I apologize for my screen doing that. And you could just bring it up here to like whatever level you want. Let's just say, imagining that layer, that looks pretty good. However steep you want it. And then let's split, or we could actually do trim as well. Either way, trim is kind of easier. So trim. And then we also do the same thing the other way with this other form. And then we have this kind of extreme curve right here. But now we want to do the now we also want to do the curtain wall inside. So we decided I think this is offset at 8 feet. So why don't you just type in offset and select this line. And actually, why don't we change back to 2D under 2D curtain wall for that layer. And we can type in 8 feet to offset. So now we have this layer, and we've also offset that at 8 feet. So we can do the same thing again, pretty much bring this up to 60. And let's turn off the 3D massing. Actually, let's before we do that, we can join this together so that it becomes a solid once again.
Did you create the curtain that's a few feet smaller than that one?
Oh, type in offset, and then you select this one, and it will offset as a, I don't know if many of you are familiar with AutoCAD, but when you do offset in AutoCAD, it always goes on the same layer. When you offset with this program, you can choose which layer you're going to offset it to. So you pretty much just whichever is the current layer, it will offset to that layer. So then we offset that by 8, and we're able to get this form, which is just a pretty much 8-foot offset of that form. And we can do the same exact method right here, just to make sure that we have another offset as well. Loft between these two. And then we could do more trims. Also this way. Oh, I'm going to turn off history because it will try and update everything. So let's join this again. So then you'll see you have these two forms. And let's split this with that. So in order to do a split, once again, I'll just reiterate this. You type in split, and you have the object that you're going to cut, and then you select the object that you're going to cut it with. And if we go into the ghosted view, you can kind of see what happened here. You can see that this thing was cut into 2 pieces. And so if you want to hold down Control, you can unselect the one piece that you want to keep, and then delete the other piece. And you'll have just the piece that you want. Now, though, we don't want this whole piece being just completely solid and different, so let's extract this surface once again and do the same thing as a split. And once again, hold down Control to unselect that, and so we can delete this one.
Great. So can I use that larger pink thing to trim the white thing?
Oh yeah, definitely.
So is that the trim command, or?
You can use trim or split. So trim, you will select something and then trim it by clicking on it. Whereas the split will you're selecting something and then you're using something to cut it, and everywhere that it intersects, it will cut it. So like they're both very similar commands, but just slightly different way you use them. So let's change this to.
I was just having trouble getting the objects.
Oh, so it has to make sure that they're intersecting correctly as well. Let me see if. What's again with your situations?
Oh, see, I think. I don't think you have. So you don't have a piece right there. So I would just.
So I capped it now.
I would cap this one if you wanted to.
No, they work now. I capped it.
Oh yeah, as long as this one's capped. So.
Yeah, that's weird. That's why I just use split. Sometimes it's weird about which pieces you're choosing. So then you select that one first. This one. Yeah. And then the next piece. And you can delete the other piece. So yeah, I don't think this piece is capped. There you go. Alright, now you can try trimming. Maybe that'll work actually too.
Alright, I'm trying to split it, yeah.
Yeah, split. I think you actually split it with the other splits. Yeah, it's good. There you go. Alright, good. Now you can just leave those other ones. And let's change this layer here to be a glazing layer. And if you notice, maybe I should have done this earlier, but we just had like the rounded edges on that other one. So I'll just show you a real quick way you can make this look all Diddler Scofidio-like. So let's type in the command fillet edge. And let's just select a radius up here of 10. And we can just select all of these corners, and you'll see it round. And you'll notice it had problems with this piece right here because it was cut already. So let's, first of all, save these two pieces. Actually, let's just go back real quick so I can fix this, because I kind of screwed that up. So back here you can see that since it's actually more of a normal shape, you can then fillet the edge here. You don't need to do this if you don't want to, because I went back so far. But let's fillet those edges and this should work better. There you go. You'll see that it came in much better. And if you go into rendered mode, you'll see that it's actually got a pretty nice little curve on the end there. But let's go back to the ghosted mode. Yeah, fillet edge. Sorry. Let me redo that. So type in fillet edge, not just fillet, but fillet edge, because fillet is only for 2D, and fillet edge will be more of a 3D. And we're going to change the radius to 10. And then you just go through and select the corners that you want to. If you wanted to make it even funkier, you could do the top as well. See what that would look like. Turn it into that. Yeah.
I'm ready for that. Can you do that to the interior and interior corners? Or just fill it edge like the square?
What do you mean by like an interior? Like you can.
An armpit.
Yeah. This good visualization. This if you look right at this one, it will work with this one as well. So you fill that edge. So it works right there as well.
So I got the edge, and it's a handle. Edge. These.
Yeah, just hit enter. It's got 10 mode. Then hit enter again. Oh yeah, these are options you could mess around with, but.
Oh, it did it bigger this time. Before it only did one.
Yeah.
And it does work.
Yeah.
Awesome. That's something you can't do very easily.
Yeah, most definitely.
The vertical ones you can't do. The ones that are at an
Angle.
That's pretty interesting because it's.
So I'm gonna. Are you guys wherever you guys are at? I'm gonna catch up real quick with doing the rotate 3D again. All right, and then just trying to catch back up to where I was. All right, so we're back to this stage right here. So now we have this general form, and I'm going to want to change this to the glazing, and change this to the wall. But just so we can create floor slabs, let's take them both and copy them back into this 3D massing layer. And then let's turn off these ones so that, whoops, turn off these ones so all we have is this form, and we'll join it all together as one piece. So just type in join and select them both and then cap it. And so now we have just one general piece. And we're going to use that to create floor plates. So let's select the 3D slab layer, and let's type in box, and just pull a box that will take up the whole building, and click right here. And then when you're pulling down, now type in -1, however thick you want to make your floor. 1 is pretty big, but I'm just... So this, we have a 1 foot tall block, and let's do the array just like before, and do only in the Z direction. Let's say 5 and make them 12 feet high. And then in order to do this nice and quick, we're going to copy this once again to the 3D slab layer so we can keep a copy of it. And then we're going to turn off the 3D massing layer. So you'll see these are all on the same layer now. We can actually turn off the 2D. So we can then do what's called a Boolean intersection. So we're going to select these floor slabs and then do a Boolean intersection. So BOOLEAN intersection. And then what this is going to do is it's going to create a solid form only where these objects all intersect. So you're going to select this form then again. Oops. You're not going to have to unselect this one at the bottom, you'll see, because it's not actually intersecting with the whole thing. So let's try that again with just these 4. Boolean intersection. And then you have these 4 slabs. And if we want to get the bottom one, it's pretty easy. We can just turn this back on and extract this surface. And then change it to the slab layer. So now let's turn off that 3D massing, and you'll see we have these. And now we also have the 3D in the wall. And you have just this general form. And it's something just pretty simple and easy. So let's say now you want to make some kind of just void going through all these slabs. Oops. So let's turn off the 3D wall and slab for a moment and just go to the 3D cut layer. And we're going to turn the 2D back on. And I've already created these forms right here. And let's just do a loft between them, and you can have a crazy twisting form come through. And you'll see that once you type in loft, after you've selected these two, we've kind of gone through this before, but you have to change this around so that you're actually coming here so that this is at the same point as that. You'll see that this is just a rotated version of that. And then it will give you this twisting form, which we can use to cut out something. If you could also just do a straight extrusion if you want to keep it simple, but might as well do it crazy if you're just making something crazy. So then we have, I would cap that as well. And you can turn the slabs back on. And this time, instead of doing a Boolean intersection, you do a Boolean difference. And this option will tell you if you want to keep this input, which is this green layer, if you want to keep it or not. Let's say they can delete it, no problem. And now we have this void coming through our building. So let's turn on the walls and let's extract this surface, and we'll turn that into the actual roof. And we'll split that as well. Another reason you might want to use split is if you want to keep the other surface. So let's say we have this roof we want to keep. You want to keep it. So let's, you want to keep this other piece. You're going to turn it into a skylight. So you're just splitting it, and then you can select it afterwards and change it to this layer, which is called glazing. And now you have a skylight that goes down into this twisting kind of void below. So now that you've done this, let's say you just wanted to add some quick windows. Nothing too special or anything, just some quick squares. So let's just do some boxes. And you'll notice we're just keeping this thin because we're going to do something with Revit where we're going to add the thickness later, where we're going to just do a model by face. So there's no need to really add material thickness at this point when you're doing it this method that we're showing you. Glenn, do you think we have enough time to just go into Revit real quick, or?
Sure. I think we should
Yeah. So we'll maybe go into this more next week, but right now we're just going to try and send what we have right here into Revit. So and the best way to kind of work this, especially with a complicated building, would be to only do internal or external. So yeah, we're just going to take the big outer skin like one piece at a time, just so it's pretty simple. So why don't you just select that outer skin, and we're going to type export. And let's just throw this on.
Oh, no, that's actually.
Is the demo version not allowed to export?
No, what happens is it gives you 30 of them. So when you set it up, if you set them as a demo versions in the room, you can only get like 30 saves. Okay, so this will use one of them. That's what it's basically saying.
Oh, really?
Okay, yeah. As opposed to setting up the less of the numbers. Let's do it for now.
Actually, no. Why don't I just export it, and you guys can? I'll just export it to the. Yeah. No, I'll just export it to the server.
Oh, that worked too.
Yeah.
That's a good strategy.
And then you guys can just take it off the server.
That's fantastic.
Maybe we just need the full version on one computer. I thought the full version was on the computer, so like a full demo.
Full demo.
The entire demo.
Got the whole demo. All right, so I'm just gonna. You guys can just watch. I'll just export and go down here to the SAT file, which is ACIS. There we go, ACIS file, and we're just gonna say this is a Rhino form session 3.
We're taking things from Rhino into like the ACIS or .SAT.
Yeah, and I've actually, if you look on coursework in the session 3 folder, there's also a quick little document that will walk you through this if you just want to try it again. But just select default, and so now I just have that on my desktop.
So wait, the .SAT What was the other file format?
.sat, but also .dwg also works. But we'll go into that later. That's for like more very complex forms, and it's definitely not preferred because that it's really hard to make it an actual building information, like an actual information model after that, because it just brings it in as massing, and you can't create it, like you can't do model by face or anything like that. So yeah, it's a little different, but we'll go into that later. So let me. Oops. You just throw this up on here. Where'd that file go? Did it not save? See where I imported that. Oops. That somewhere else, I wonder. Sorry about that. All right, should be in there right now under Rhino form session 3. And open up Revit if you haven't already.
Is this on the L drive?
Yeah, it should be under the L drive.
CE133-Session3-Part2 folder.
Quick question. Is it on which folder? I got on.
CE133-233.
Okay, and then go to there. Oh, actually, you're trying to open a Revit file. Don't try to.
Oh yeah, don't try to. You just open Revit, and then we're going to import it.
Yeah,
So get a new one?
Yeah, create a
brand new Revit file, just from a blank template.
Yeah, because what we have to do is we have to import that SAT file. But don't just import it right away. We're going to do it in a special way. So just get a blank Revit project open for yourself first.
So have you guys got this this opened at all yet? Or Revit ready to go?
Yeah, looking good up here. Looking good. That's quite looking good. Always looking good. Oh, we're in Revit 2009. We didn't want to go ahead.
Actually, I'm not sure it has.
The ones on the back here are always kind of.
I think she might be able to work with it. We'll see. Actually, I don't know. See.
Okay. That's
Oh, yeah. That's
okay, so go ahead and open up the Revit, the blank project.
Yeah. Just select a blank template. Just new project.
No worries, this is going to go quick, so it's,
yeah,
don't worry, you don't have to rush. And then on your side, got that. Okay, so here's the deal, just to kind of get you going on this next piece. What's going to happen is the SAT file format, okay, which is a great one for transferring geometry around, you could try to import it directly, but if you import things directly, what happens is they come in as these big blocks of form that you can see, but you can't touch. Okay, you can't really get in there and do what you want to them. So Christian's going to show you a technique where, as opposed to sort of importing it directly, we're actually going to create a mass and import it into that. And because masses have this nice quality where they get shrink wrapped with a layer of editability. Yeah, that'll let us basically wrap walls and curtain walls and roofs and things to those forms.
Yeah.
So, hey, you ready on this side? Right?
Oh yeah, because you can model.
I'm opening both slabs.
Yeah, it's going to be modeled by face.
See, so that's what you want to get. And it won't let you do that just right to an SAT object, but it will let you do that to a mass.
And one thing that I'm just going to say from working with massing in Revit. It's you can do some pretty crazy stuff, but I feel like when I was working with it, I had no control over what I was doing if I was doing something a little bit more organic or unique. With Rhino, you can set things very precisely to be like a certain distance and like very like full on example, like an exact line, something like that. So this is just like it's almost like you're doing the massing in Revit, but with using like Rhino as a more exact way with like a little bit more potential.
I think it's a very good way to think about it. You use the Rhino to sort of create the shape of the forms, but then once we've created that shape, then you can use Revit to go ahead and make the elements out of them. Okay.
So let's go up to massing in Site tab, and we're just going to do a in-place mass.
And it'll complain a little because typically the masses aren't visible, but that's okay.
I think mine's complaining more than usual.
Okay, now that's the networking thing again.
Yeah.
Okay, because it's the you just trying to say or what happened next?
So in place mass.
Yeah, just in-place mass. Call it whatever you want.
I can also just do
Unable to obtain the formal license.
Sure.
Oh, everyone's having this.
That's just local area.
Everyone's having troubles.
There's something about your machine and this yellow wire where like it's a networking problem. So figure that out.
Well, maybe we'll be taking care of this next week then if Revit's not.
What's happening is you're all having you're both seem to be having some sort of networking problem. So I suspect there's some problem that we should probably report to that. Something like that. Let me try popping that back in.
They haven't properly replaced it yet. They need a guy who comes in and does all this computer stuff.
They actually have one.
Okay, they've been properly installed in all the computers.
That's true. Go ahead and for you, just go ahead and say like any demo mode is fine. Or I think it's actually now connected. I think it's actually going to be okay now. Okay, now you're good. So create a mass and give it a name.
Yeah, so in place mass, name it whatever you want. And then we're going to go up to insert. So here there's two options. You can link CAD or import the CAD. And if you import it, you're actually just bringing the file in as an actual form. Whereas if you link it, you're creating a reference to the form, the form that's in another file. So the good thing about that is that you could later on, if you want to change or edit that file, all you need to do is export it again in Rhino and then relink it. You don't have to re-import and go through the process again. You could just relink it. So
the cool thing is to work in general with linking a lot of different files between Revit and other things is that importing takes a snapshot today. So it's locked to that snapshot today. It'll never update even if the thing that you brought in changes. Whereas if you link, it's a pointer to that other file. So if you make a change, Revit will always keep on updating itself.
And once you get into large files as well, this is also a more efficient way to save on file size. So you won't be importing that actual large former and taking up memory with that. You're just creating a reference to it. So it's actually, I know in Rhino and in AutoCAD they use these referencing tools a lot because files will get too massive. So let's link CAD.
Actually, what you're going to do first before you model the face is you're going to bring this thing in by linking to the SAT file.
Yeah, so you're going to find your SAT file.
If you're having trouble with finding that link, you go to Insert. We'll find the link CAD in there. And then let's see if we can go on out there and find it. And as you're looking at the dialog, you may need to change the little pull down at the bottom where it says Files of Type. Because by default, it looks for DWGs. So you can switch it over so it's going for SATs instead.
Yep, so...
Up and down there.
And so you're going to select this.
Slow.
And usually you would want to do it instead of center to center. You'd want to set it at the origin to origin. But it's not really important here since we aren't doing a big process where we're trying to keep things together in the same place. So we'll just do it center to center.
It doesn't specify units, so it'll just go right to millimeters.
Yeah, so I would put it into feet because otherwise it will come in way too small and be completely ridiculous. So yeah, default is millimeters, so definitely switch this units to feet.
Okay, or you can take it out and let's link it in again. We'll link it in and we'll choose the file name again.
And so
and then choose instead of import.
You click OK.
Go to feet. Okay, so doing it again. That could be manual. Yeah, that one's not so critical. Yeah.
You guys got it coming in correctly at all? Or?
Yeah.
You good to go now?
Okay, now you look good. Okay. Well, there, maybe in the middle there. Let's go back out. Let's zoom it in. There you are. If you bring it in and you have to be zoomed in really close, it may be bigger than what you see. So you might say ZF, zoom to fit, it'll pop it out. Another good thing to do would be to roll it over to the 3D view. That way you can actually sort of see it.
So what's yours by center to center and origin to origin?
So center to center is just making it the center of the actual form that you have. That pretty much the center, like if you base it all out, but
it's like the center of mass.
Yeah, center of mass, I guess.
Or
but
center in XYZ space.
Exactly. But at origin, let's say you're building something like you say in Rhino, you can see that, for example, this right here is 0, 0, and so this would be a certain X and Y coordinate away. So when you're doing drawings, you want to keep things. Usually, you want to keep everything in the same point, so you can copy things back and forth and make sure that you're keeping consistent. So when you do origin to origin, you maintain that.
So I treat that kind of as like a site.
Yeah, site location.
Same plot on the site.
Exactly. So so that you can maintain this connection and keep everything organized.
About 9 out of 10 cases, origin to origin is the best choice.
Yeah, I mean even if you don't need it, it's just best to get in the habit of using it. So
it doesn't actually default a three-dimensional view, so if you double click on the 3D,
so now you can finish this mass, and it'll give you some warning that the mass contains only mesh geometry, but don't worry about that.
It's not capped.
It's not capped. We changed the top to the roof, which we could import later and mess around with, but.
Okay, I think everyone's got the basic form up. So all
right, good. So now we got it shaded. So let's try it real quickly here. Go over. It's down here. Can change it to shading, to shaded.
Make it shaded with edges. That way you can see the.
Yeah, that way you can kind of see what's going on. And let's
Go back to the massing and site.
Massing and site tab, and we're gonna do. Modeled by, where'd it go?
Do some walls first. You're looking at it.
Oh, there we go. Oh, sorry. It's I'm used to 2010, I guess. So model wall by face.
That's a dress form. That's
yeah.
Just and you're gonna stretch some fabric over it.
So now, you just have your generic wall, whatever you want, whatever kind you want. Maybe you want to make it. Probably wouldn't want to make this form CMU, but whatever you want, just yeah, we'll make it brick just so you can see how it looks.
Where are you getting the copies from? Yeah,
oh, sorry, this is probably differently. This is like I think I'm in 2012, which is yeah. So up top here there should be something that tells you.
What you need to do is go ahead and finish the mass.
Oh, sorry.
Okay. And now go back to home, and as soon as you choose the wall tool, go to this thing, and choose the make it. And now there's this type selected, and that is where he's getting these different types. So now you can choose like wall or like room.
So the awesome thing is these things are pretty. I don't know how you picked up though.
Yeah. You got some brick.
And I'd say when we're choosing this, we'd probably want to do the finished face interior. So then we can start selecting these, and they'll turn that into a wall.
What you're doing by that choice is basically saying, when you put this thing with some thickness, some wall thickness, are you hugging up to that form as being the interior face or the exterior face?
Or you could do it as a center line as well.
And it'll put it on both sides.
So now there we have a general a general form that we've created with all these walls, and if we go through and we can just hide the original form.
Why don't you, just to finish up this general, So let's hide the mask. And let's try to just do two more things. Why don't you put a couple like just normal things like doors or windows in it, and then let's see if we can go back and change the form and do that little update.
All right, sounds good.
And
so
that'll be a good start.
we're just going to throw a door in here.
So actually, before you do that, how about if you're still looking at things that are sort of meshed on like a form and new walls are kind of on top of each other, let's go ahead and turn off that mask.
Oh yes. So if you just go through and hit tab, you can select the mask so we can turn it off so you can make sure you can see. So let's undo that, and I'll just show you how to do that real quick. Just go through, tab, select this, and right-click. You can say hide in view elements.
That'll make it a little clearer. Otherwise, the mass in the brick or whatever your wall surface kind of bleeding through because they're so planar.
So I have enough filling. Now I've set all these walls. Why can't I change the wall type altogether?
Well, there's you must have go to filter because you must have more than just the wall selected. There's something else in here.
No, it's from walls.
Interesting. No, try changing them independently. I don't know.
I can change them independently.
It seems like you ought to be able to, but I don't know. You're on the read
There's
You work for everything.
I don't know everything.
Go back to the program.
So yeah, we got this set up. So why don't you guys just, if you have this, try and throw some doors in there. Yeah, throw some windows, some yeah, without any concern in the world. Window. All right, so you can see how it's pretty much just acts just like anything in Revit. And so
So we go to mask. So it's mask my site. Feel free to come in. Just kind of finishing up. Huh? I haven't even looked at it yet.
In the last couple minutes.
In the last couple minutes, I just made a new form. So we're gonna update this with a new form, and I just saved it as a different version. So it's just gonna be a quick change, you'll see. And why don't you go up here to your Manage tab and click on Manage Links.
So what we're going to do is actually change the Rhino form underneath this model, and what's going to happen is all your wall faces are going to update to a new form.
So when you go over here to CAD formats, and you can click on this Rhino form session 3, But I saved it as a new file so we'd have both still. So instead of doing just reload, you have to select reload from, and you can browse through and select browse through and select this Rhino form 2. So, anyways, you select that one, and it'll replace it with the other file.
So what got changed?
You'll see here in a second.
Yeah, you don't see because your mask is hidden right now. If you unhide the mask, you'll see the new version of it. You see how it's different there?
So
you can unhide it if you want. That'll actually make it easier to see what's going on.
But let's say you just keep it hidden. You don't even need to, you just need to know which ones are affected. So you could click on this and say update to face. Oops. I guess it has troubles when you have. Ooh. Weird. Actually, I need to unhide that maybe.
Yeah, it was not very happy with somebody like
Yeah.
that. But that's very important.
Yeah. How do I, hey Glenn, how do I unhide in 2012?
So go down to the white
Your light bulb.
like that.
And then choose the little pink box underneath it.
The pink stuff.
And now,
Right
there.
click.
Or it's up there.
Right click on the
Oh.
screen,
It says reveal or whatever it is here.
or you can click reveal. You can also do reveal.
And then if you turn the light bulb off again, you'll see the whole thing.
Alright, so this has been updated, but for some reason, sometimes the files don't, these things don't like to update themselves, so I guess you have to redo it sometimes. We've done it before where sometimes it'll update automatically so you don't have to redo it, but I guess worst comes to worst, now you have to do this by wall. But anyways, maybe we'll have to get in that more next time. So you guys can feel free to leave if you have any more questions. Come up here or just let me know. I'll come over and help you out.